Welcome to the spring cleaning edition of Volusia magazine. Find out what citrus greening is and why it has citrus growers in Florida so concerned. We'll tell you how to identify it and what you can do to help clean it up. Come out and help Volusia County's Environmental Management Division clean up the St. Johns River during the 17th annual cleanup event. Then I'll tell you where Volusia County's Solid Waste Division will sponsor free household hazardous waste collection events so you can get rid of unused and unwanted hazardous chemicals properly and conveniently. And finally, Volusia County Sheriff's Cold Case Unit cleans up old crimes. Those news stories, special reports, and more coming right up on Volusia Magazine. I'm your host, Amber Patterson, and I hope you stay tuned. Florida citrus growers have been dealing with freezes and citrus canker for decades now. There's a new disease that's killing citrus trees across Florida. Citrus greening is an incurable disease that has spread like wildfire since it was discovered in Florida in 2005. It's prevalent in every county and is posing as a serious threat to the state's $9 billion a year citrus industry.
It is a fatal disease. It is a bacterium that is transmitted by a small insect called a citrus psyllid. It can inject the bacterium into the tree, and upon infection, the tree can die, depending on its size, usually within 3 to 5 years.
According to Joe Sewards, Volusia County's horticulturalist, it's hard to identify the disease if you don't know what you're looking for.
Once a tree is infected, the symptoms of citrus greening infection can be fairly hard to discern if you don't know what you're looking for. The most obvious symptom is what is known as blotchy mottle, and again, it's very difficult to describe. It's easier to find pictures of it, but the leaf will turn yellow in blotches, and it won't be symmetrical on either side of the leaf. One side of the leaf will have more blotches or less blotches than the other side. Another characteristic of citrus greening is lopsided fruit, misshapen fruit, and if you taste a fruit from an infected tree, it'll be very bitter, almost salty to taste.
If your tree tests positive for citrus greening, you will not be able to nurse it back to health. Even worse, insects can transfer the disease to other trees, so your best choice then would unfortunately be to cut it down.
In Volusia County, we have lots of citrus greening. Every commercial citrus orchard in the county that I'm aware of has been determined positive for citrus greening. And most homeowner samples that I have looked at in the past 6 months have turned up positive as citrus greening.
Mature trees, if infected, decline in health and become unproductive, while young trees may never come into fruit production.
And of course, if you need help diagnosing this, you can call your local county extension office, and either a master gardener or an agent can look at your samples if you bring them into the office, and we can help you determine whether or not you have symptoms of citrus greening, and then possibly send a sample to the lab, which isn't cheap, but that would provide positive identification.
For more information, you can visit volusia.org/extension. Spring is here and it's time for some cleaning. Volusia County residents should go through the garage and kitchen to look for old hazardous waste materials. Volusia County's Solid Waste Division will sponsor a free household hazardous waste collection event in Ormond Beach and DeBary this weekend. The events will be at the Ormond Beach Public Works Department from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. April 19th and DeBary City Hall from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on April 20th. There's no charge for dropping off household hazardous waste.
Our most popular drop-off is the paint. The other would be automotive fluids, household chemicals, pool chemicals, batteries, that would be car batteries or any rechargeable battery, fluorescent bulbs, and anything else you might have laying around your house that's considered a hazardous waste. It's important to dispose of these type of items properly because it prevents groundwater contamination and from the chemicals or such getting into the environment and causing a pollution, or it also prevents creating a hazard in your house. We do accept sharps, however, they do have to be in the red approved containers, and you will not get your container back.
Only unmixed household hazardous waste is accepted. Businesses are not eligible for free disposal during these collection events. Residents also may bring their household hazardous waste to the Tomoka landfill in Port Orange or the West Volusia transfer station in DeLand year-round for free disposal. These facilities also will provide a paint exchange program and electronic waste recycling for residents without a charge. For more information about household hazardous waste and the paint exchange program, you can visit volusia.org/recycle. The 17th annual St. Johns River Cleanup will begin at 8 a.m. Saturday, April 20th. Boaters, scouts, civic organizations, environmental groups, business and individual volunteers are encouraged to help clean up the St. Johns River by removing trash and debris. All participants will receive a t-shirt and reusable shopping bag. Tom Carey of Volusia County Environmental Management says the annual cleanup day is good for the environment and it's a great way to enjoy the outdoors with some quality volunteer work.
We want to clean it up not only for people to enjoy, but also for animals. A lot of the trash that we pull out of the river are a big danger to the health of wildlife. There's plastic bags, six-pack can holders, even fishing nets that have been discarded can trap animals in it and drown them. And so it's a good idea to clean up the river for the sake of both humans and for animal life. We make it easy on folks who want to participate, our volunteers, in that we have 8 points along the river from Pearson all the way down to the Lake Harney area and in between. So people can register and go to a point on the river that's convenient to them where they might live and go ahead and help them clean up the river.
Plastic bags and gloves will be supplied at each site. Volunteers should wear a hat, comfortable clothing, and closed-toed shoes. Bring work gloves, sunblock, and a bottled water to drink. Rakes, shovels, and trash grabbers may be helpful, but they're not necessary. Volunteers with vessels who can get onto the river are welcome too. Tires, white goods, such as appliances and electronics, and hazardous waste will be piled separately from the other trash. To find out more information, where the cleanup sites will be, or to pre-register, you can contact Daryl Abrahamson, event coordinator, at 386-736-5927, extension 12424, or visit volusia.org/cleanup.
Hi, I'm Joyce Cusack, Volusia County Council Member at Large. As tough economic times continue, Volusia County residents and visitors are seeing the value of public transportation. During the last fiscal year, VoTran had more than 3.5 million boardings. VoTran offers a variety of services, including fixed route buses, a beachside trolley, van pooling, and a gold service for people who can't ride fixed route buses due to disability or age. At $1.25 a ride, VoTran drives a great bargain. For more information about VoTran, visit votran.org.
And now we join Michelle Coates for the Business Beat. Today, Michelle is at AO Precision, a local manufacturer that has nearly doubled in size and is the 2012 Volusia Manufacturers Association's Manufacturer of the Year.
Hi, I'm Michelle Coates with the Business Beat. We're here at AO Precision Manufacturing, a local manufacturer that's nearly doubled its size this year and was recognized as the 2012 VMA Manufacturer of the Year.
AO Precision Manufacturing was started in Daytona Beach in 1982. After a couple of name changes and owners, the manufacturer is going strong and growing by leaps and bounds. AO Precision is a major supplier to the military, gun builders in the commercial market, as well as the aerospace and defense industries. We spoke to Steve Koch, AO Precision Manufacturing President.
AO Precision is a precision manufacturer of high quality machine parts. Most of the parts that we produce are destined for small arms, which end user could be anything from law enforcement to the warfighting soldier.
The company has seen significant growth over the last several years, investing in its employees and infrastructure, most recently doubling the size of its Daytona Beach facility.
We added about 60,000 square feet. That started in January this year. It was a build of about 7 months. We undertook an expansion project of about $10 million, $3 million in a building expansion, $7 million in equipment. Along with that expansion, we were looking for skilled labor, and today we have 258 people that work for us in various operations that include machining on bars to either forgings.
While building precision components and parts primarily for guns used by the military, AO Precision is poised for diversification and growth.
Double-digit growth. We expect that to continue all the way in through 2014 and 15. And a lot of that is based on the demand in the marketplace.
The company has set its sights on the future, and its employees are the future. AO Precision has invested in both its facilities and its employees.
And we've added a considerable number of pieces of equipment. $7 million almost translated into about 26 new pieces of equipment. Ultimately, that translates into operators that are running one piece of equipment or two pieces of equipment with one operator. So that's where you get your demand for much more labor with high precision making parts.
AO Precision and its innovative approach to its employees won the company top honors from the Volusia Manufacturers Association in 2009 and 2012.
When we started to consider our plans for expansion, we looked first in the local community because that's where our workforce was. And as I mentioned earlier, we had a very dedicated and loyal and skilled workforce. So it was a natural transition to stay in this marketplace and grow the business here. On top of that, Volusia County and the local government has been very great to work with.
AO Precision keeps the quality and efficiency in its operations by involving its employees, who excel at delivering precision CNC machining. Whether they're working on a government contract, a critical aerospace component, or any number of other precision requirements, their commitment to quality never changes.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Michelle Coates with the Business Beat.
And now we join health reporter Stephanie Strong for this report from the Volusia County Health Department.
Hi, I'm Joanne Weatherwax. I'm the Dental Program Director at the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County. Today we're going to talk about how to select the proper toothbrush. Have you ever gone to the store and wondered how to select the right toothbrush? It can be very confusing with all the different sizes, shapes, and textures. When it comes to choosing a toothbrush has three parts. A toothbrush is made up of the head of the toothbrush, the handle of the toothbrush, and the bristles of a toothbrush. Now the head can be either rounded or rectangular. The handles can be very short or very long. The bristles can be soft, medium, hard. They can be flat. They can be dome-shaped. They can go in angles, as this one does. Many different sizes and shapes. Many people wonder, how often should we change our toothbrushes? The American Dental Association recommends that you change your toothbrush every 3 to 4 months at the first sign of wear or after an illness. Some other tips to help you keep your toothbrush clean and help it to last longer would be to make sure that your bristles get to dry out. It's not a good idea to put your toothbrush in a closed container. That promotes wet bristles and bacterial growth. Another suggestion would be to soak your toothbrush in an antibacterial mouthwash for a few minutes. Rinsing your toothbrush with warm water before you brush and after your brush is an excellent idea also. Another habit that is not good to get into is sharing toothbrushes. Sharing toothbrushes spreads bacteria and promotes illnesses.
Thanks, Joanne. Remember, toothbrushing plays an important everyday role for personal oral hygiene. Brushing helps remove food and plaque, a sticky film of bacteria that can irritate the gums. Plaque that is not removed can harden into tartar. Brushing is more difficult when tartar collects above the gum line. As a result, the irritated gum tissue may swell or bleed. This is called gingivitis, the early stage of periodontal disease. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Stephanie Straw, Public Information Officer for the Florida Department of Health in Volusia County.
If you have any questions about this or any other health-related issues, you can always log on to volusiahealth.com. It's time now to head into the studio to join our Community Information Director, Dave Byron, and his guest, Volusia County Sheriff's Investigator, Chuck Lee.
Well, thanks, Amber, and hi, everyone. You know, sometimes all investigators need is a small piece of information to crack open an unsolved crime. And with advances in crime technology, it's very possible to solve cases years after a crime has occurred. The Volusia County Sheriff's Office has an investigative unit that's seeking to unravel the mysteries of several cold cases. We'll find out how they do that with our studio guest today, Volusia County Sheriff Investigator Chuck Lee. Chuck, thanks for being with us. How you doing?
Thank you very much. I'm very well.
Hey, talking about this cold case unit, how long has this unit been in effect, Chuck?
It's been in effect probably about a year and a half now. I have two volunteers that are former detectives or investigators that used to work for the Sheriff's Office, and myself as the regular investigator, and then I have a supervisor, Sergeant Tobin.
You know, when we say cold cases, is there some sort of a definition of a cold case? I mean, does it have to be open so long, or is it unsolved? Or how do you determine what a cold case is?
A cold case is an investigation that where all investigative leads at that time of the initial inception of the case has been exhausted. Now, that doesn't mean that the case is closed. It just means it's set into a suspended status until an investigative lead comes around where we can actually investigate that lead and see where it leads us.
So in other words, you're saying that the case remains open but inactive? Is that what you'd say?
There's basically three things that we do with cases. One is close them. That means the investigation is complete, it's gone to trial or what have you with the case. The second one is a cleared by exception, which means somebody doesn't want to press charges, or the victim is not a true victim, or the person who was the subject of the investigation or the victim of the investigation passes away. That's where it's cleared exceptional. And then there's a suspended status where the investigative leads have been exhausted, for example, the cold cases, that we can bring back and not reopen them because they've never been closed. They're just coming from a suspended status to an open status, active status again.
You mentioned you had a couple of volunteers that are helping you out. My understanding is those volunteers, I think, are retired law enforcement officers, and in some cases, they actually handle the cold cases that you're working on.
That's correct. When we initially established a cold case squad, I had two civilian volunteers that came forward, and they were screened by the Sheriff's Office in order to become a volunteer. Especially when it comes to homicides, that information we don't want leaked out to the general populace, and because that makes our job harder when it comes time to interviews and interrogations. They actually did handle the cases, and we have 48 open cold cases. What we had to do was go back and take those boxes of cases, photocopy every case, and then send those copies to records where they uploaded them into a new data system.
Wow.
So that was our first step, is organization of the cold case squad. Then after those were recorded in the data, computer systems for the Sheriff's Office, those records came back to us. Now all those are original records, so we have to safeguard those records, and that's where we put them into a vault. Now those records did not include photographs, investigators' notes, or any evidence that were in the cold case boxes. It was just records of initial reports that we had to send to records. So that was our first step when we established our cold case squad.
Well, when these guys are coming back, actually having worked on these cases, you may have some of that information that's right up here.
Definitely. We have Mr. Henshaw and Mr. Maxwell. Both of them retired, Sheriff's Office. Some of these cases, you know, even though I was born in the 60s, they still have recollection of because they actually worked the cases.
Wow.
Or had knowledge of the cases as a first responder. So that knowledge I'm using to our benefit because they know the people who were involved, they know the suspects and the witnesses, so we know who's our friend and who's our foe.
Right.
So it's very good and very good for me to have those two working with us.
Even though these cases, Chuck, are many, many years old, you know, from what I read and, you know, what you watch on TV and whatever, that even a very small new clue can oftentimes be the key to unlock what happened.
Very much so. Anytime we get a lead, whether it's by telephone or by Crime Stoppers, or you know, another police officer or a sheriff deputy can provide us information, that one little clue can open up into a world that we will track and track and track, and you know, and if we have to travel out of state, which we've done several times,
right,
we'll track that lead until it's exhausted or it proves the innocence of a person or the guilt of a person.
Right. You mentioned travel out of state. I would also guess that another law enforcement agency may pick up a clue from a totally unrelated incident that may link back to something you're working on, and you put I guess the information together. That must happen sometimes. Sometimes
it does, especially with the inception of DNA.
Right.
From the late 80s until present, the DNA has evolved to where it's a law enforcement friendly.
Right.
So there are cases, for example, I just went to a meeting last week in Alachua County of a serial killer that has been in the state of Florida since the 1980s, was transient, and traveled all over the United States and California and Los Angeles, arrested him for 3 cold case homicides in their jurisdiction.
Wow.
So what we're doing is comparing notes, and we know he was in Florida at certain times, and we're looking at our cold case homicides that may link him to that, whether it be we have DNA or we don't have DNA, but we can put him in the general vicinity. So that lead alone will help us out considerably in our cold case files.
And I would imagine that if you're comparing, you know, incidences that occurred, let's say in Los Angeles versus what occurred here, I would think that the motive and the type of crime and the circumstances sometimes match up. And you go, that's similar to what we have here.
Yes, very correct. Just alone in certain cases, people operate in certain ways when they commit a crime, especially a homicide, especially when it comes to sexual type homicides. They act in certain ways. We try to link those ways up. That's specific evidence that maybe they bound the hands, bound the feet, used a knife, used a gun, you know, specific shots that they used with a gun, specific cuts with a knife. So we will use that to our benefit.
You know, you mentioned DNA, which has, I guess, come on the scene in the last 25, 30 years or something like that. You know, technology has exploded so rapidly in the last 10, 15 years. I would imagine that today's investigator must have a lot more tools, especially with technology, to help solve some of these cases. You didn't have technology like this 25, 30 years ago.
No, sir. We had, back 20, 30 years ago, all we could do is tell you what type of blood you were, you know, or O positive, A positive.
Right.
With our DNA today, we're able to track your history. Even if we have a partial or what we call a touch DNA, we can go back and build a profile just on that touch DNA if we don't have a full profile of that individual.
Right.
So DNA has drastically improved our solve rates as far as crime across the United States, not just Volusia County, but across the United States.
So for citizens out there that all of a sudden they may have a moment of consciousness or maybe a little guilt or what have you, or maybe that they read something somewhere and something registered with them. I mean, what should people do? I mean, should they hesitate to call you, or should they be in this kind of a circumstance where if there's any doubt, give you a call? I mean,
any doubt, give us a call. If you have any idea of who may have committed a cold case homicide, or any cold case, in fact, you know, we have burglaries, we have home invasions, any crime, don't hesitate to call. You can remain anonymous. You can go through Crime Stoppers, or you can call our offices, and we will talk to you without taking your name or telephone number and have that information come forward. The only way we're going to solve these crimes are with information that the public provides us. That's one of the reasons I'm here today. I also, have also taken our cold cases and put them on mass media, so we could get that information out to the public and generate the leads that we need to solve these cases. Somebody knows something about every cold case that we have in that cold case vault. And all we're asking is for people to come forward with that information.
All right, so if they want to come forward, what do they do? Where do they go to get a hold of you, or where do they get information?
You may call 1-800, I believe it's Crime Stoppers. I don't have the phone with me right now. Or you can call our office directly at area code 386-254-1535 and ask for myself or any investigator in the office, and we'll be glad to take the information from you.
And again, you're working on how many cold cases?
48.
48. Are they all murders?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, Chuck, I want to thank you for sharing the information with us. As you say, out there someone's got information and you want to hear from them.
Yes, sir, I sure do.
Our guest today is Investigator Chuck Lee with the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. And again, if you have any information or want to provide some facts and so forth, all you have to do is call Crime Stoppers. And with that, we'll go back to you, Amber.
Thanks, Dave, and thank you for watching Volusia Magazine. If you have any questions about our program, just give us a call at any of the numbers you see listed here, or you can log on to volusia.org. You can also watch the show online. Just go to volusia.org and click on the News tab to find us. And did you know you can view the County Council meeting calendar there too? You can find out about meeting dates, activities, special events, topics of interest, and how you can participate. On April 18th, Master Gardener Katie Deal will address adaptive gardening for those who might be limited due to injury or physical disability. The presentation will be at Hopkins Hall in Lake Helen, and for more information, you can call 386-228-1152. Last but not least, we hope you won't forget to listen to Volusia Today, Volusia County Government's public information radio broadcast. Volusia Today airs every Tuesday and Sunday mornings on the local radio stations you see on your screen. For Volusia Magazine, I'm Amber Patterson. We'll see you next week.